Hello everyone, and welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, open mic number 249. And tonight, I thought we would read this. Well, it's a filing from, or a miscellaneous thing from, or miscellaneous motion from Stephen Avery. Didn't come from Zellner. This is Avery's sent this into the Wisconsin Supreme Court, I guess, to the chief judge for consideration. I've only read just a little bit of the first page, so I know others out there probably have read it, but I have not. So I've seen some postings here and there about, a little bit about what's in it, but not too much. So anyway, um, let's see. We have several joining in. There's JD. There's Robert Cecil, True Crime Fangirl. Hey there, neighbor. Sheila Hawkins, Kelly McAlien, Passive Bear. There's Jazz Gloria, Tony. That's all I see so far. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well. It's been a rough year in the Jack household, but always that silver lining. I always try to look for the positive, right? Even in rougher times. So anyway, I know Doc's been going through a lot of stuff in real life, and hope he's doing okay. Everybody's got something going on, it seems like. So hey, we're just flying solo for now. I did send out a few invites, but people got stuff going on in their life, and that's just the way it is. So we'll just deal with it, right? Trying to think if there's anything else going on that I can remember. Still a lot of conversations going on X. I'm not as involved on X as I once was. There's just for me, there's a lot of political stuff that that's fine. People want that's what they want to do, but it's just not. It's just not a really healthy platform, I guess. In my opinion, that's just my opinion, and that means absolutely nothing but to no one but me, because it gets so. It just gets so really nasty. It can't be just a civil conversation. It doesn't seem like ever, and I see so many. Even if I'm not associated with or follow certain people, it still pops up in my feed. I guess because I've been on X for so long. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I have moved. I have created an account on Blue Skies, or Blue Sky. I should call it. It's much calmer. I haven't seen any, and it may be there, but I haven't seen any real big issues. Trying to discuss various things so far. So that's probably going to be a permanent move for me at some point. We do still, we restream to X because it's a larger audience, but hopefully at some point there's going to be a way to do that on Blue Sky. I don't know that that's available yet. I really haven't checked into it. So we'll see what that holds in the future for restreaming, because we restream to Facebook. Facebook has become weird too, but they've changed the ruling about and certain things you can't put in your video description. You're limited, and again, that's fine, but that was kind of an all of a sudden thing. So had to make a few adjustments to what's in the description of each video, each live stream. Boring stuff, I know, but still, I'm not really sure why they did that. Anyway, let's get this popped on the screen here, and we can take a look at it. Where you at here? Okay. Hey there, Sunshine Christina. Looky there.
Shalom. How is everyone?
Well, I'm just sitting here flapping my mouth before we get started. Have you read this?
No. What are we reading?
Well, this is a miscellaneous motion from Avery, not
Oh,
Freeze Eller, from Avery to the Chief Judge at the Supreme Court in Wisconsin.
when was this filed? Oh,
Yeah, the 13th.
yeah. Interesting.
Yep. So
Huh.
when I first looked at it, I'm like, wow, that's some different font.
Yeah.
So that was a big giveaway.
How many pages?
It is 7 pages total.
Okay. Have you read it before?
I read just a little bit of the first page, and that's all. So I'm going to be
Okay.
as surprised. I'll be just as surprised as you are at whatever's in it.
So this is real-time reactions.
It's real-time reaction. It is.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was just talking about X and how really politically charged it's become, and it's just distasteful to me because it's really difficult to have a civil debate. It's actually almost impossible. So I tend not to discuss too much, and that's fine. It's Elon's platform. He bought it. He can do whatever he wants. It's his. So
I'm about to the point where I am thinking that all of social media is for sale for people, yeah, for whoever, right? If you're trying to push good content, you can purchase AI or trolls or whatever you want to label a troll these days. I don't know what the misnomer or the title is, like for the trend of the day, but this case really opened my eyes to how you can think you're conversing with, like someone who's truly a real person with
yeah,
a genuine interest, and
but
they're
it's a bot.
not. Yeah,
It's a bot.
and then you can also think you're speaking to someone who's a troll, and they're not. So I don't know. I just prefer just to I enjoy doing these podcasts. I think podcasts are great because you're going to find people who, because if they're only in it for a buck, whether they're for you or against you, they're only going to do what they got to do for it. But people who are genuinely interested in this case are going to stick around. And I think that's what I've learned,
Yeah,
is
and it's definitely changed since I became involved, in late 2015. I'm talking about the social media, the whole
it really
thing.
has.
Yeah, because you never really know.
Reddit. Reddit was like, you really, you
there's
just
still
don't
discussions.
know.
Yeah,
You really don't know if.
Yeah, there's still discussions going on in the MAM server. There's still some going on in TikTok. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's still some people discussing various things. And
Yeah.
I've uninvolved myself. I mean, I look at it, check on TikTok because I'm still a mod there. You are too. To just make sure things are okay and someone's not snuck in the back door to create a problem. But I'm not as involved in the conversations anymore. I'm just, at some point, at some point, you think, well, how many times do I need to restate what I feel, what I see? It's the same arguments over and over.
And you want to reach those who stumble across the documentary, because even though we think that you should have watched it by now, at the same time, there's a lot of people in this world and everyone's got a lot on their plate. And I know, that not every, I mean, there are people who are still watching the first episode of Making a Murderer for the first time, and those are the people that I'm interested in, right? The people who are compelled to seek the truth. I don't have time for people who are trying to distract everyone from the truth and protect a wrongful conviction. And there's no way to filter that out. So I pray they find us on Discord or on YouTube or on Reddit.
And or even on X or Facebook or Facebook.
Or Facebook, wherever they be. I hope they make their way to Discord so that we can have genuine conversation without the insertion of trolls, because they distract from the goal, which is to shed light on the corruption and find out what really happened to Teresa Halbach and get Brendan and Stephen a new trial.
At minimum. It's another thing I typically know when I've ran into someone that's not really interested in truth, because they'll say to me, you just need to stop what you're doing. You just need to quit requesting documents. You're just wasting your time. Well, okay, it's my time to waste if that's what I'm doing. Why do you care? I don't know you. What are you doing? That tells me right there that I'm not really interested in someone that's looking for the truth. That's someone looking to bury it. That's my opinion. So, Christina got whacked out. She'll be back. Anyway, what did Danny say here? I watched Justice with Jax react to this, and she hated that Stephen was allowed to do this, or that anyone would maybe push him to this. Yeah, well, I can't speak too much. I've never spoke to Avery. I've read, here and there that he's got people that, that he talks to on the outside, that I'm sure influence him. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying that's just the way it is. And, that's his outlet, because, he's stuck in a 8x10 room that's got bars on it and a lock. So, welcome back.
Yeah, it's I tried to refresh the screen and it knocked me out.
Oh.
There's been an update and it's a little wonky on my end. I'm trying to figure it out in real time.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, let's see if there's any other. No, you're fine, Donna. I tried to start on time tonight, but as usual, I started running my mouth. Not that I'm a talker. Don't ever get that idea. I'm not a talker.
Not Jax.
No.
How's the weather? Have y'all got anything from the system?
Yeah, it got pretty windy. Today Sunday, it was Friday night into Saturday. It was pretty windy, and we had rain off and on and a lot of wind gusts, but nothing. Not here anyway. Nothing extraordinary. Power blinked one time, but it came right back on. But it did turn quite cold. Actually, the temperature has dropped since before midnight. Before midnight, I think it's in the 30s now. It was on the Friday. I think it got up to 74, 75 here.
Wow. So in a day and a half, it's dropped that much. My son is in the Army and he's stationed in Missouri, and he put a post on his Instagram yesterday afternoon. There was hail the size of softballs, like out of nowhere, and it was pretty intense for him.
Yeah.
And then we've gotten a significant amount of rainfall here in Florida. And they had a tornado come through. I heard there was an earthquake in Mississippi.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I know there was a 4.3 or something in California, Los Angeles area.
Wow.
I think at some point. Yeah, there's a question here from Louise. What did you make of Casey's response to the question on X asking what she thought of essay letter to the court? I have not seen that. Alex, I'm not on X as much as I used to be, so I could check that out.
What did she say? Louise?
I don't know.
Yeah, Louise.
Oh.
Yeah, what did she say?
Yeah, you stay safe there, Sheila. Run to your safe place. She said 80 on Friday, going to be 33. Yeah,
Oh,
we
my
had
goodness.
Yeah, 50-degree swing in temperatures. Nuts.
The weather patterns have been really extreme the last few months.
Yeah, I have. Anyway, why don't we knock this out and we can kind of discuss what Steven says here. You want to just do as we've been doing, kind of trade back and forth? All right. I'll start us off here. Everybody's ready. And by the way, as always, as Louise did, put if you have a question or whatever that you want conversation, put a Q in front of it. I'll try to catch it, even if I got to pause and go back up a second.
Hey, Jax, can you send a link in my Discord DM to the motion, because it's not allowing me to expand my screen on my laptop to read it.
I can just send you the file.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
File.
That way.
Come on. Windows. There we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Let me check this here. Yeah, that's going. Yeah, that's going. Yeah, that's going. Okay. All right, here we go. This was, you can see over here on the left, in the upper left, it looks like Steven started writing this on the 3rd of March, filed on the 13th. The state of Wisconsin Supreme Court filing a complaint on this case of fraud and due process rights and all the evidence of judges behaving badly, turning a blind eye on the evidence and all the Brady violation of this case. And this will give me a new trial on this case. Denny, third-party suspect evidence. On review of the decision of the Wisconsin Court of Appeals, District 2, appeal number was in 2023. An appeal from the Circuit Court of Manitowoc County Criminal Division, the Honorable Angela Suckowitz, presiding judge, the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, reprimanded Judge Angie for exceeding the scope and authority of her office and for failure to comply with the law. Judge Angie, she, quote, turned a blind eye to much of the evidence and also refused to admit probative, admissible evidence that, when evaluated under the proper standing, is damning, end quote. Judges. Canon 1, a judge shall uphold and promote the independence, integrity, and impartiality of the judiciary, and shall avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. Canon 2, a judge shall perform the duties for judicial office impartiality, competently, and diligently. Canon 3, a judge shall conduct a judge shall conduct the judge's personal and extrajudicial activities to minimize the risk of conflict with the obligations of your candidate for judicial office shall not engage in political, or campaign activity that is inconsistent with the independence, integrity, or the impartiality of the judiciary. All right, you want to take over for there, read a little bit?
Sure. Judicial misconduct. So judges behaving badly. I love his terminology, first off.
Yeah.
Judges behaving badly. Judicial misconduct refers to acts that are unethical, illegal, or in violation of the judicial obligation of impartiality. As we have seen, there are myriad ways in which judicial misconduct rears its tainted head. More often than not, such misconduct is subtle. Sometimes it is blatant. Fact-based evaluation of weight of evidence in a claim. The 14th Amendment secures the right to due process. The 8th Amendment prohibits the use of cruel and unusual punishment. During an arrest or detention, these rights can be violated by the use of force amounting to
I think that's supposed to be force.
Yeah, I think so. By a force amounting to punishment, summary judgment. The person accused of a crime must be allowed the opportunity to have a trial and should not be subjected to punishment without having been afforded the opportunity of the legal process. Failure to keep from harm. The public counts on its law enforcement officials to protect local communities. If it's shown that an official willfully failed to keep an individual from harm, that official could be in violation the color of law statute in the truth of justice. Reached by actor framed for murder. How important is the question of innocence to a judge? Judge who rejected over and over his or her claim that he was a victim of police and prosecutorial misconduct, and his exoneration did not matter to the Wisconsin court that rejected his estate's claim for compensation for his wrongful conviction for the second time. Whoever wrote this, I get where they're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it is true.
Every word of it.
Well, just that last part, especially, a lot of people that maybe are a little bit newer to the case don't know or just haven't found out yet that in late October 2005, there was a bill going before the Wisconsin Congress, I guess you'd say. Anyway, along with this, they were going to compensate Avery $460,000 right then. That has separate from the lawsuit. It was separate, had nothing to do with the civil suit. Well, then all this stuff happened with Teresa and everything surrounded that. He didn't get that money. Now,
what
he
did
had already
end up getting?
Well, he had already gotten before then. He had gotten like somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was $57,000. I can't remember what that was for. Regardless, he owed. He still, I mean, even after this, he still owed a lot of money to Glenn and Kelly, but he paid out like 20-something thousand in bills and debts, whatever. And he had like 25 or 26,000 left. That's how he bought that huge Ford F-350 truck. Because it was like $25,000 he paid for that. So, then, of course, this compensation for years wrongfully, convicted for the 1985 case, I'm not talking about the Sandra Morris incident. I'm talking about the Penny Bernstein incident. He didn't get that money, and it just kind of seems to have fell off into oblivion. And of course, then in February, it was around somebody asked this on X yesterday or the day before, and I answered it. They wanted to know when Avery settled that civil lawsuit, and I think it was the 14th of February, but it might have been the 12th or the 13th. But it was mid-month, I can tell you that. I do know that for sure.
Yeah,
He
because
settled that.
I was just going to say that's the money he used to put a retainer down for Buting and Strang, right?
And paid Glenn and Kelly $160,000. Buting and Strang got $240,000.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah,
that's right. So anyway, just a little history on that $460,000 that he was supposed to get from the state of Wisconsin that he never got.
And mind you, he did a minimum, even if I think he was sentenced to 6 years of the 7. How long was he in prison the first time?
Well, he was sentenced to 34 years.
And he did, and he did like 17,
8.
Almost 18, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So even if he would have done the full 6, because it was concurrent, not consecutive, he at minimum did 11 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. That was actually committed by Gregory Allen. Correct. So basically they're saying $46,000 a year roughly. And he didn't even get that. And honestly, that's actually on the high end for what states pay out. Like, if you average out the time spent in the lump sum offering they offer when they get busted for doing it.
Yeah. Some states are like 15,000, 20,000 a year max.
Yeah. It averages like it's chump change. It truly is.
I think Texas and Louisiana are even lower than that.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me any at all. I mean, I think like that per average, it's around 20,000. And and they were throwing a fit over having to give him this money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but yes, 6 figures is a lot of money. But I think any of us here would have taken being in the quote free world, unquote, over, any amount of money. Because it's not just living in prison, it's having to go through the mental and, the treatment by other inmates and COs because they think you're someone you're not. And it's ridiculous that human freedom and lives are reduced to that, for me anyway.
Well, you think about your life and think about, is your life worth, basically being locked away? Is it worth 20,000? I mean, for me, you can't really put a price on it. Because you can't replace that. It's irreplaceable.
No.
All that can be done is to try to make up for that with something that someone can do to rebuild their life in a pretty decent way.
Because thinking about the relationship with his children, his grandchildren, his sister, his brothers, his parents, all of those things,
or just living life,
Yeah. I mean, all the experiences that were reduced to being experienced in a prison setting, that he did not commit a crime to have those. That's the key. And people knew he didn't commit it and yet chose to put him in prison anyway.
Oh, I lay that straight at the blame of Kasork and Vogel, period. End of story.
And Morris and Sandra Morris and what's her face?
Dvorak.
Dvorak. Yep.
Yeah,
And
others played a role for sure, but anyway, JD says Jody wanted that truck. Anyone that's listened to the Jody Chuck calls, what an eye opener. Yeah, she wanted that truck. She had her eye on that truck. I'm going to get that. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to give Roland Johnson some money and do this and blah, blah, blah. And then JD says, wasn't Wisconsin max paid 25 a year? I think it was actually less than that. I can't
yeah,
remember, Jay.
it was around there. I
Yeah, it
remember
was.
that.
And
So maybe
Yoga.
that's where 25. So that's probably where the total came from. If it was 460, they were giving him the whole 17, which makes sense, honestly, because the Sandra Morse incident, as violent as they painted it to be, was, it wasn't, it's clear Wisconsin doesn't send you to prison for a lot of crimes. They'll give you, jail time and probation.
Well, I don't know that he would have served. He probably wouldn't have served the entire 6. He probably would have been paroled prior to that because he admitted to what he did. He should have been punished for what he did. He should have never done that. But hey, Stacy, so great for you to drop by. Yeah, we haven't done quite as much this year. There's just been a lot of things going on for all of us in real life. So yeah, it's good to get on and talk about these things. Anyway, Yoga had a question. I thought that the money was escrowed in Beauty's account to avoid it being paid out in the civil suit brought by Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're talking about the lawsuit money? Yeah, it was paid out because they did bring that lawsuit. And
so they ended up dropping that lawsuit.
Eventually, they did.
Mm-hmm.
But to try to take money from someone that hasn't been convicted of a crime is pretty. Hey, look, I know they had a loss. I get it, man. I get it. But try to take someone's money that's trying to defend themselves, saying, "Hey, I didn't do this." I think the judge saw right away that couldn't happen.
One thing that I've learned from researching this case and the Johnny Depp case as well, following that, it really opened my eyes. Civil lawsuits allow so much more information to be put on the record. And I think that the attorneys that are advocating to keep Stephen in prison, i.e. the attorneys that work for the state of Wisconsin, knew if there was a civil, because that's the whole point of it, right? The civil suit depositions put so much info on the record that would not have been accessible to us in the criminal cases. I think that they were cautioned that a civil suit could really unwind or unwrap this hot mess of a case.
Yeah, most federal judges don't like to leave anything. When something gets filed under seal, they'll leave it sealed for a period of time. But eventually, most federal judges do not like anything to be sealed in a federal civil suit. They want it unsealed, open to the public, as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. Look at what happened in the Coburn v. Netflix. Hey, look how much information we got out of that.
Yeah,
that we would have never otherwise got.
The depositions are these depositions in civil suits are amazing because they have a broader range of questions they can ask and evidence they can admit, and
the seal and it won't remain sealed. I do know, and I'll bring it up here as part of another conversation once we're done, about the Coburn suit that I was looking at the other night, because it's interesting for me anyway.
Okay.
Hey, look at there. Look who's here. You know who that is, don't you? That's Jerome.
Is it?
It is. He's up
Hi,
late.
Jerome.
Thanks for joining us. Anyway, let's read some more. You want me to read a little bit now?
Yep, I think these pages got flipped. You may want to go down to, yeah, because if you see how it starts, I'm like, what the heck? Page 4 is like mid. So if you go to 5 and then flip up to 4, it'll make more sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though you got them in the right order, the way they're numbered, 5 is really 4, I believe. And you'll see why I say that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I see that now. Okay. We'll do that. I should had a new trial on all the new evidence. The circuit court abused its discretion in summarily dismissing Mr. Avery's second motion pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 9746 without addressing the 5 Brady claims raised, and in subsequently denying Mr. Avery's motion to supplement, which raised a 6th Brady claim, all of which deprived him of due process in violation of the Wisconsin and United States Constitution. A, standard of review. B, Brady violation regarding Mr. Ramlow. C, Brady violation regarding Mr. Redant. D, Brady violation regarding original flower video taken on November 4, 2005. E, Brady violation the zipper voicemail. I'll speak to that. F, Brady violation regarding Miss Heidel. Yeah, okay. G, Brady violation regarding the Dassey Yonda CD. Computer that Bobby Dassey was using, and it had all the stuff on it to access violent images of young deceased females, rape, torture, incest, and pedophilia on the internet at times when only Bobby was home. And he had a picture of Teresa Halbach and Stephen Avery, and this looks like a good suspect to this case, and the new eyewitness, Thomas Sawinski. Mr. Sawinski was a motor route driver for Gannett Newspapers Incorporated and delivered papers to the Avery salvage yard in the early morning hours of November 5 of 2005. Prior to delivering the newspapers to the Avery salvage yard, he turned onto the Avery property and witnessed 2 individuals, a shirtless Bobby Dassey, and an unidentified older male suspiciously pushing a dark blue RAV4 down Avery Road towards the junkyard. The RAV4 did not have its lights on. After Mr. Sawinski drove by Bobby and the other individual and delivered the papers to the Avery's mailbox, he turned around and drove back towards the exit. When he reached the RAV4, you're correct, Bobby attempted to step in front of his car to block him from leaving the property. Mr. Sawinski was within 5 feet of Bobby, and his headlights were on Bobby during this entire time. Mr. Sawinski swerved into a shallow ditch to escape Bobby and exit the property. After Mr. Sawinski learned that Teresa Halbach's car was found later in the day of November 5, 2005, he realized the significance of what he had observed and immediately contacted the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office, spoke to a female officer reporting everything he stated in his affidavit. This was the 8th Brady violation the state held. The Brady number 7 violation of the due process and destroyed evidence. The issue on remand to the circuit court was whether the state violated Youngblood v. Arizona and Wisconsin Statute 968-205 when it returned the human bones to the Halbach family in 2011 without giving notice to Mr. Avery or his counsel. Mr. Avery's supplemental 97406 motion alleged material facts sufficient to establish a violation of the Wisconsin Evidence Preservation Statute, Wisconsin Statute 968-205, and Youngblood. because 968-205 does not provide a remedy for convicted persons in the event of a violation, fashioning a remedy is left to the courts, an action Wisconsin courts have yet to take. Mr. Avery's supplemental 968-205 motion contained sufficient material facts for the circuit court to fashion a remedy for such evidence preservation violations, controlled by United States Supreme Court precedent addressing evidence preservation violations. And it's got some cases cited here. Taken together, Trometa and Youngblood comprise the line of constitutional jurisprudence that outlines the extent of the state's duty to preserve evidence. If a criminal defendant can satisfy either test, then a court will rule the destruction of evidence was a violation of due process, reverse the defendant's conviction. All right, let's pause here because I got a couple of comments on these Brady violations. Okay. Hell, I went too far. 2, 3. We swap page. Okay, here it is. Sorry about that. I'm not going to address A, B, or C, but D, there's definitely something weird going on here for me personally because of the flower video. Anyone that's watched it and has read what Poggle said that him and Wendy Baldwin had Curtis Drum fly them around. There's no footage of the zippers, no footage of anywhere except the Avery salvage yard, and even that is heavily edited and clipped. But no footage. I mean, that's one thing, but no footage of anything at the zippers or any other area where Drum flew them. As for Teresa's, what they suspected was her route, there's nothing. So does that mean that Poggle or Baldwin didn't film anything? And if they didn't, why they didn't? Or two, that it was clip cut and edited out. I personally think it was edited out, but that's just my opinion.
I've always found.
Thoughts on that, Stina?
Can you hear me?
Oh, she might have stepped away.
Oh, you can't hear me? Oh, no.
Okay, let's move on to E, the Brady violation.
You can't
regarding
hear me?
the zipper voicemail, and I've raised about 10 pounds of hell on X about this because this is she got kicked. This was an outlet, for me to specifically try to talk to Mr. Ken Kratz about the issue that surfaced when yours, I think it was 2021, he got a copy of this PDF file, and in this PDF file was the exhibit list. Oh, Christina's back. There's a copy of this exhibit list that Kratz created in January of 2007, and on that exhibit list is the zipper voicemail that's being seized. Mm-hmm. Now, if that thing was dated, it would be extremely difficult to make an exhibit list in November or December of 2005 or even early 2006 because all the evidence hadn't been processed yet. But why would he? Number one. But the bigger question is, why would Ken Kratz include the zipper voicemail in January of 2007 unless he had a copy of it? And he said on X that he did not have it. He got quite angry at me also because I had a copy of this exhibit list. He called it work product. I'm like, well, it was legally obtained through an open records request by someone else. I don't know what to tell you, man. They released it. And, I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't know why that would be called work product at all. There were 500 exhibits listed. So I have a real problem with this because even, people say, well, he lost it. I can tell you for a fact that's not the way they do things. I don't think in Wisconsin or any other state that the original copy is copied. That's what they do. The original stays packaged in the evidence lockup. Somebody wants a copy, they send a request from the 4 copies of blah blah blah. They get it out, they copy it. It goes back. The master copy goes back into storage. The copies are distributed out to whoever wants them. That's what they do. They don't give out the original copy. Come
No.
on. So this one I have a real problem with too.
Can you hear me?
Anyone that really reads, especially the DCI reports, this is where you really see it. These various Bassbender, whoever they're requesting copies of X, Y, and Z, that's what they do. So don't tell me that they don't have it. That somebody doesn't have this thing. Yeah, Miss Heitel, I guess the Veely CD, yeah, to me that was a definite violation of what they did because they played they played hideaway with it from the time that they got it on May 11th, 2006. It was called somehow work product, and then on June 1st, 2007, after the trials were done, it became evidence and was entered into the CASO ledgers. So, which is it? It's a real violation of me. It's a blatant violation. I don't know how a judge can't see that. I just don't. And I don't care if they run off a copy and give it to the defense. That's not the same thing. It's not. So, are you back, Christina? Is your mic working?
I'm here, but I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Oh, they got storms and so forth. No, I can't hear anything, Christina.
Yeah, I'm gonna hear.
Your thing. Hey, there's JD. Hey, Jay.
Hi, I thought I'd let you pop on and say that Sunshine Christina.
Can you hear me? I can't hear you if you're talking.
I think the air is your end.
Really quiet in the studio. I hope everybody can hear me. Check this here. Make sure everybody can hear me. I'm not hearing anything at all on my end either. I just unmuted YouTube. Let me check.
Can you hear me now, Jax? Can anyone on YouTube hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you clear.
At all on Twitter. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, you can hear me, JD?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sound.
This is really strange. Maybe it's me.
Jax, I can hear you.
And
JD, you can hear Jax, right?
Yeah, I can hear them.
Okay.
I don't think Jack can hear any of us.
No, I don't think. I think the problem's on Jax.
You can hear me, but I can't hear anything at all on my end.
So let's you and me talk while Jax figures it out.
There we go.
Oh, can you hear us now?
Yeah. It's working now. For some reason, my headphones are disconnected.
Okay. Well, I was thinking it was me. So that's good.
Usually I get a beep in my headphones that they disconnect, or it'll tell me. I didn't get anything. That they just disconnected from my Bluetooth. I don't understand what the heck that's about, but whatever. But anyway.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Kratz is still talking about this case on social media.
Yeah, he got quite angry. He got quite angry at me a couple of weeks ago, and wanted to say and try to insult me, and I just turn it back on him. I'm not playing that game. If you want to talk about the case, that's fine, but don't be childish.
And hi, JD. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How's
Yeah.
yourself?
Good. Doing good.
Hey, look at there. There's Dr. Suckman. Thanks for joining us, Doc. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, the this motion is interesting. I'm so curious to find out who actually did this. Because it's clearly not professionally done, but it's done
no.
from a good place.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, just like his pro se motion, I'm sure he had help. Avery's whatever, intelligence he has about, cars or that kind of thing is one thing. But as far as writing and legal stuff, he's just not very savvy. And that's not a slur or a slight. That's just the way it is.
If I was accused of a crime, even now, with all the knowledge of the legal system that I have, I'd hire an attorney. Because it's a whole,
absolutely.
Yeah, because if you don't know what you're doing, you'll talk yourself into prison.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're the phrasing, the legal terms and what they mean there, because certain legal terms have certain meaning that go back into antiquity, that we don't have any idea. Anyway,
and procedures.
You guys probably were talking, and I apologize, about D and E, and then of course G. I can't say which one bothers me more. I am really bothered about E, the zipper voicemail, because that one doesn't. I've yet to hear one valid reason what happened to that voicemail and what's on it. I just haven't.
Well,
I've heard everything in the sun. You have too, Christina, on Reddit.
Biggest, yes. So I'm going to tell you from the beginning, my biggest red flag about the flyover tape that we received was at the end of it, how it was clear that it was taped over some sort of commissioner meeting or some sort of, and I felt like you're billing the taxpayers millions of dollars. Remember now, I mean, they were quick to say this was the most expensive case in history, but yet you can't even afford to go get a $3 VCR tape to make a copy of the flyover video. Like this, Teresa Hallbach's life wasn't worth a $3 tape.
Right.
It's clear that they are not being truthful or putting out there. It's just really says a lot about the quality of work and effort put into this investigation. And I would love to identify the woman who's on that tape.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, at the very end of it. JD, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know about the flyover bits where they've edited it and stuff, yeah.
At the end of that tape, there's a probably, what would you say, Jax, like a 5-second, 3-second clip of some sort of a council meeting or some sort of multi-people meeting that looks like a city council. And a woman, she's like in a pink shirt, right? With blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for a while on Reddit, we were all trying to figure out just who this woman was, because it's such a bizarre clip for them not to edit out. And it's clear that the tape has been edited in some fashion, because that meeting definitely didn't take place on a helicopter.
No, or in an airplane.
Or in an airplane.
And then there's that short footage of whoever holding this little tiny piece of bone.
Well, I don't know about that. What is that?
Yeah, it's at the end of that tape. It's at the end of it.
All
Yeah. Oh
right,
yeah.
let me not say I don't know about it. I don't recall. Oh, wait. Yes, I do. At the very, very end.
That's right.
Yep. It is a brief snippet. We should reanalyze that.
Yeah, I haven't watched the entire thing in a while. I
Uh-huh.
almost because it's so bad and shaky that it's almost you almost got to take Dramamine before you watch it. It's pretty
It's
horrendous.
Blair Witch Project bad, right?
It's bad. It's really bad. But getting back to these different points, yeah, there's definitely 3 of these or 4, at least 3 that I have real issues with. D, F, and G. I have real problems here. Again, because
DFG.
yes, I'm sorry, D, E. I'm sorry, D, E, and G. I mean, I got problems with the others too, but these were pretty big, and and I can't really call it a radio violation, I guess, but I kind of do. The November 4, 2005 dispatch calls from Manitowoc.
Mm-hmm.
We have the entire 8 or 9 days except that day. How does that disappear? How
Yeah.
does that just get plucked out?
And that's the day Andrew Colburn supposedly wasn't working yet.
Correct.
What's his face saw him.
Ramlo.
Yep, saw him at the
Cynic station.
At the Cynic station in his jacket.
Yep.
Yep.
So
is it and like that would be completely, let's say it did surface by the grace of God and we had multiple calls where Colburn was clearly working. Would that be sufficient evidence of impropriety on the part of Manitowoc County? Would that be enough to get Zellner back into court?
I don't know. I mean, they seem.
It should be. What do y'all think in the chat?
Yeah, I agree with you, but the Wisconsin judiciary just seems to be interested in finality. They love that word, finality.
They seem to be interested in keeping the truth hid.
Well, that too. Hey, Doc had it figured out at the beginning. That's right, Doc. It was me with the problem. It wasn't everyone else. That's so funny. I feel bad now. I'm just going back here, guys, real quick, see if I missed anything. And welcome, Barb. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, you know what's not on here? The zipper voicemail.
Yeah, it is. G. I'm
sorry, yeah,
E.
it is. E. Okay, I was going to say, that's a big problem for me.
Yeah.
Yep, and the roadblock they never talk about on Xander.
On Xander Road. That's another one. It's a complete mystery. We have no idea what they're doing. Tony says, do they have the call from Mr. Sawinski on file, like the calls we listen to? Well, it's available. They should have. If you're talking about the Supreme Court or all the records, if they decide to take the case, all that, the records were made available, recordings, the whole 9 yards, as far as I know. Anything they want to access.
And there is a brief call where he calls in, and then when he is transferred to the detective on duty, the recording stops. That was submitted by Zellner in one of her filings, correct?
The Sawinski call?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So they have access to it to confirm its existence. Now, mind you, for a hot minute, they claimed that didn't occur either. And then when, who found that? Rookie?
Yep.
When Rookie made the connection that was Sawinski, and and Zellner was able to submit it. Now they're claiming that it doesn't establish that he's being honest about what he's claiming.
Well, of course they have to, they have to color him purple and orange and whatever.
Yeah. Now, mind you, we now have documentation that he, like he said he did, he tried to contact who he believed Stephen Avery's attorneys were at that time. And then when he first saw Making a Murderer, he again tried to contact who he thought Stephen Avery's attorneys were. We also have him trying to contact Manitowoc County, and then him contacting Zellner. So everything he has claimed he did, we have evidence of him being truthful.
Well, he contacted the wrong people in the beginning. I think it was an innocent. It was an innocent mistake. I don't think anything.
But the fact that he didn't contact the right people doesn't make his claim of saying he did it not truthful. It just means he didn't go to law school.
Yeah, and people say, well, why didn't he follow up, back in real time about this? But, for me as a regular person, once I report something, why would I follow? Unless it directly affected me and my life, why would I? If something happens to you personally, you call the cops, they take the report and they don't show up. That's one thing. He's reporting something that he saw. He gave them the information. He's done his part. He turned it over to them.
And we don't know what. Who did he speak to? Who was
Senglub?
Yeah, we don't know what was said to him.
We only know what Sawinski said. He said to him, but that was years ago. I mean, he's probably got the gist of it, but
no. I mean, we don't know what Senglub said to him.
No, we do not.
So we don't know what he was told the next step should be. You know what I mean? Did Senglub say, we'll handle it from here? There's no need to contact us again?
Right.
Right?
It's hard to say.
Mean, yeah. So how can you judge the man when you don't know what he was told?
That's right. I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyway,
we're just really clueless about how whack-a-mole the legal system is in America. Is it, JD, where do you live? In England or?
He lives in the UK.
I'm over in Wales in the UK.
Is y'all's legal system this messed up?
I think every legal system is messed up, really.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think that myself, truthfully.
Yep.
I was surprised when you were talking about the flyover, how they never used a new tape.
Yep.
I never realized that that had happened until you just said it now. And I was like, well, yeah, why wasn't it a new tape? It should have been fresh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What if you it just shows how little value they placed on everyone involved in this case. And how can you think that they did their best when not even, the taping of the flyover was worth everybody could pitch in a quarter and get a new tape. But yet they just grabbed a rando tape and taped over it. It would be nice to have that tape. I wonder if you could extract from underneath the flyover the tape they taped over.
If it was VHS, I would say no.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to know what that tape was. Because why would Manitowoc County, if let's say it is Manitowoc County, why would it be Manitowoc County who's making the copy of the tape? Because, you know, even though the trial took place in Manitowoc County, it was Calumet who was supposedly handling the investigation and prosecution of the case.
Sure they were. Sure they were.
Yeah, because that would be evidence that contradicts their story.
Well, I mean, I've thought about, and you know, we'll never truly know, but that recording that was turned over, they could have taken the original and it being a new tape, and then did all this whack-a-mole job copying it over to this old recording. Get what I'm saying? Onto this old tape. Because to me, given what's in the report about what happened on the November 4th, there should have been some footage of the zippers and some of the surrounding area of this alleged route that they thought Teresa had driven. But we don't have any of that. It's gone. It's not there at all. So they either didn't film it or they cut it out.
So technically then, they could have played one tape, which is the original, recorded it onto a second tape, which they could have recorded over this videotape that we've got now.
Correct.
And then they could have been pausing and then releasing the pause as and when bits went through, as in editing out the main footage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to agree with Doc. That's what I've thought for a long time. That's what they did. There's a question from Zena. Did anybody know what was said in the further talk with the official after the call recording record stopped? You're talking about Sawinski must know what he was talking about with the officer on the phone. No, we don't know, because that call came in to the dispatch, and unfortunately, once a call is made to the outside, because Singlod was at the Avery salvage yard, he was the officer in command. He was the commanding officer that evening. That call gets transferred out. Once Singlod picks it up, the call is broken, so the recording stops. That's unfortunate, but I understand it because a new connection is made. It's not part of the system.
And Zellner hasn't filed any affidavit with Sawinski stating what was discussed with Singlov. And because she hasn't been able to get the case back into court, we have nothing from Singlov saying what he said to him.
No.
So there's nothing, quote, on the record, unquote, about
we were accused of having the second part of that conversation and then removing it from the YouTube library. I can tell you for a fact. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can tell you for a fact we never had it because it doesn't exist. All the calls that we got when Larry Ledvana retired and Cummings took over, and Ricky was able to get the other 22 or 23 DVDs from Manitowoc, and this call surfaced. There is no second part of that call. I've got every recording. Ricky's got the CDs, but he uploaded everything. Zoe and I have got a copy of all of it. So it never existed. Yeah, it's crazy, man. So, anyway, you all talk for a second. I got to mute.
I'm wondering whether Sawinski's got records or some sort of phone evidence to say that call he actually made was, say, 6 minutes long, and we've only got, 1 minute 23 seconds of the dispatch call.
I'm sure he was on the phone with him much longer than that, like you're saying. Yeah. I mean, and it's just, they're trying to act like their system was archaic, but they had just gotten a new system right before this case broke. I think both places. And, was technology less advanced then than it was today? Of course. But it was still quite capable of retaining and storing the information. And yet there was nothing. And then over and over you hear on the dispatch tapes, copy on code, copy on code, copy on code. And that just lets us know that that's them having conversations without them being recorded, which shows they are mindful of the fact that that everything is being recorded.
Well, and give me a 1021, which means call my cell phone.
Yeah. So
hundreds of times throughout
yeah.
the dispatch calls.
Yeah. So that means that however, when they were communicating on, so how were they communicating that was being recorded? That had to have been through like walkie-talkies, right?
Well, most police departments have a ghost mode or whisper mode, depends on which department you're in, depending on what they call it. I think they called it whisper. I think that's what it was. Manitowoc and that region. And whisper mode means they can still talk on the radio, but unless you have the crystal in your radio or whatever device to decode that, you can't hear it. Even though you might hear the little when the microphone's depressed, you might hear the or whatever the sound is. You won't hear any of the conversation because it doesn't get transmitted to radios without that crystal to decode it. Or I call it a crystal. That's what they used to be many years ago. I'm sure it's all electronic now. It's got to be. You got to have the right equipment to decode that to be able to talk on it. It's like a sideband, except it's private. It's very private, so they can still talk, and it is talked about in probably 2 or 3 places throughout. Not very much, but 2 or 3 places in the documentation here and there. So it's not that they. I mean, I think that, and I don't know this, but I think the master. There's probably a master that captures all of that conversation, but the public part of it, there's another recording that does not capture that. These whisper mode conversations, but I think they still utilize their cell phones to stay away from it entirely because those are not recorded at all.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on here. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about on these? On what I've got up here, the Brady violations, or are you good?
I'm good.
I'm all right.
Okay, let's move on here. Okay, we're about done with it. Where the hell did I stop at? Oh,
I think you finished all of 5, right?
I did. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
You want to read the? You want to read the? Yeah. You can pick up and let's finish it out.
Okay. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution imposes a duty on the state to preserve exculpatory evidence. Failure to preserve evidence violates a defendant's due process rights if police, 1, fail to preserve evidence that is apparently exculpatory, or 2, acted in bad faith by failing to preserve evidence that is potentially exculpatory. And they cite State v. Greenwald from that. Because the state violated Wisconsin Statute 968.205, Mr. Avery was sufficiently demonstrated, Mr. Avery has sufficiently demonstrated the bad faith requirement of Youngblood for an evidentiary hearing. Alternatively, this court should grant a new trial to Mr. Avery in the interest of justice. Hear, hear. Mr. Avery has demonstrated that the capitalized larger font real controversy in the trial was not fully tried, and therefore it is probable that there was a miscarriage of justice. And quote, and Bobby Dassey, Veely Computer, CD evidence of motive, unquote. Bobby has the motive to murder Miss Halbach, and the killer is still out there to this day. The real killer could have killed again, and the state is protecting him of my miscarriage of justice. A new trial should be granted for miscarriage of justice. Defendant was convicted of an offense that he did not commit. The criminal justice system is broken and it has to be fixed. And this is the time to fix it and get it right. Because I am a victim of a setup and it has to be fixed now. Stephen Avery, and it's got his DC number, Fox Lake, and it's signed 3/3/2025. That's his signature.
Yep.
And that's his handwriting.
This is the envelope. Let me flip this. Give me just a second.
Wow.
I'll do it a couple of times here.
Talk about just trying to put yourself in his shoes. You know, it's got to be so frustrating.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's extremely frustrating for him. As I look at the case overall, although everybody has their own feelings, I guess, what I see is a really, really terrible investigation. Another thing came up on X the other day, actually the last couple of days here and there, but is the mistakes. People, the guilters say, well, mistakes were made. Even Fassbender said that in Cam, mistakes were made. But, it's talked about like these were like minor errors. Somebody forgot to, maybe date something or something really of no consequence. But if that's all it was in this case, I wouldn't be here. None of us would probably be here. That's not what happened in this case. And it goes unrecognized and is so downplayed. It's like, well, you guys don't know how police officers work, and you don't know how labs work, and you don't know the process. But, I've really tried to educate myself to be able to say, well, I don't have the actual field experience, no, but I've read enough, I've seen enough that I can see horrendous mistakes were committed in this case, and that's what's kept my interest. Because not only were mistakes made, it's clear from what we have found out in the intervening many years. Doesn't matter if it's made it into court yet, of what we know of as things that have been withheld. Intentionally withheld? Hell, it certainly seems like it. If it was one thing, okay, maybe not. Maybe you just forgot it. Maybe you forgot to turn that piece over. Maybe you forgot to turn over the zipper voicemail. But it's not just one thing. It's multiple things.
It's everything.
Every piece of major evidence has problems. All of them. So anyway.
Everything.
Yeah. This has got to be, super frustrating. Like you said, for Stephen, I'm sure it is. Being, stuck in a cell would be for me. So I'm going to close this out. Get that off the screen there. I don't want to take away. I don't want to keep us here all night. We've been on, not quite an hour and a half, so we got a little time. Maybe pop that off. I did want to. First of all, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Because I want to touch on something in the Coburn case that this also came up. Well, actually, it didn't really come up in a big way. It was briefly talked about, and it prompted me to go back and look at some of the Coburn the Netflix lawsuit. I'm going to pull this up. Let me find this here because it to this day it still irritates me. I know that a lot of people didn't follow that case as closely as myself or a lot of people that Foul Play did. There are others out there too that did follow, but yeah, this is really good. It gets better if I pull it up on Foul Play. Let me try it that way. Because it lends itself to, we talked about, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because and Judge Ludwig, I think's his name. I hope I got that right. He said multiple times he does not like having files sealed at all. Where's it at? See if I can get to it this way. So what came to light was in April or May of 2023, we found out that there were 1,500 plus messages between Brenda Schuler, Andy Coburn, and the lawyer Griesbach. And this is part of the reason the case failed. Come on, where you at? 222. And I'll look for this numerous times.
Repeat that, Jax.
There were 1,500 text and email messages between Griesbach, Brenda Schuler, and Andy Coburn, going back to probably late 2017, early 2018.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it came to light in April or May of 2023.
Okay.
This is one of the main reasons I think that Griesbach left the case. I mean, he basically blew attorney-client privilege because Brenda was involved in the conversations.
And there were conversations between Griesbach and Schuler that Coburn wasn't privy to, where Griesbach was talking to Schuler regarding the case.
Well, maybe. That's a real possibility.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to just understand the context around it because I found Griesbach's leaving mid-case interesting as well. I also find, who was the other guy? The guy that he was actually Kasurik's attorney for a hot minute in the Stephen Avery civil suit. And then he represented Coburn for a little bit. What is his name? Ego guy. I'll have to.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. There's a clip on YouTube, and you can he's like classic Gilter dude. But go ahead.
Well, anyway, a lot of people don't know that within 2 weeks, Coburn was looking for a lawyer after Ma'am Making Murder aired. About January 7th or 8th, I think, was his first email to a lawyer. He'd gotten the name of a few lawyers from, I don't really remember or know. I'm not even sure it was revealed who he got the names from, but we have the emails. He's contacting lawyers to take this lawsuit on Making a Murder. And at that time, he says he didn't watch more than 15 or 20 minutes of the entire series. That's all he watched. So, anyway, he went through several lawyers. They all said, no, can't do it. Anyway, this is document 222, and is anyone that followed the case, a lot of these declarations and various documents that got submitted in the case had exhibits attached. And this is the declaration of Isabella Samilano, and I can't pronounce that last name. Anyway, she's one of the lawyers for Netflix. I mean, Lita Walker was the badass. I can tell you right now, if I ever had a legal issue, she's the one I want.
Yeah.
That woman missed nothing. Nothing. Anyway, document 222, there's a lot of redactions, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I don't know if let's see if the exhibits are attached. I think they are. Yeah. And you can see there are a number of these exhibits. Now, getting back to the 1,500 plus text messages, this was a real concern for Brenda. I can tell you from that. I know that personally. I won't discuss why out of respect to her, but nonetheless, these text messages and emails were filed with the court. And Judge Ludwig said he was going to release them unless there was a reason stated why they shouldn't be. Now, apparently, something got done because it ended up these exhibits remain sealed. And as you can see, this is some of the emails. Like I said, we have some, but we don't have nearly all of them. And I think this was a real bother for Judge Ludwig because he didn't want anything sealed. Now, I'll say that with, maybe I don't want to sound hypocritical, but, Laura and Maura were forced to turn over camera footage from that one camera that something got unplugged, and the video was really bad. It was not really presentable for the documentary, so they didn't use it. And that's of the different witnesses, of several different witnesses. So they had to go out and get footage from other media outlets that had footage that they wanted to use.
You had to purchase it, mind you.
Yes, they had to. That's right. But this footage that they submitted, I'm sure it was hundreds of hours. They had to submit it, and it remained sealed. And I understand why they would want it sealed. That's their work. I get it. I may not like it, but I get it. Anyway, here's some more, of the emails. There's a bunch of it that's redacted. But the bulk of these we never got. They're still under seal to this day, and that bothers me. I want to know what was said.
So, can these, now that the case has been dismissed, what is the rule for things that have been sealed that are not work product?
I don't know. That's because it gets into the federal rule, and there are some rules, but apparently there was some kind of deal struck, and I don't know what the contents of that were, because you may have been on break when a lot of this happened, because somebody requested these text messages. They wrote the judge, and actually I think it was Kratz it might have been Kratz, but I don't remember. I know that there was 2 letters sent to the court asking for these text messages and emails to be released. And Judge Ludwig addressed it at his last order and decision about what was going to happen in these various requests. And the text messages and emails were to remain sealed.
Interesting.
Okay. This was a deal struck, I guess, between the defense and or the defendant and the plaintiff, Coburn, the lawyers. They worked it out. They worked something out. I don't know what it was. It's a real bother to me, though. It irritates me because if there are things said that,
it makes you curious about what was being discussed that they didn't want the public to have access to.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
because
So
if you're not discussing anything that is that could paint you in a bad light, and you truly believe Stephen Avery is guilty,
or
and
you
Andrew
don't,
Cole
or you
going,
don't, or you don't think he's
well,
guilty, but we've got enough evidence to prove. I don't know. Again,
yeah,
I
it
don't. I
just
don't
may,
know.
and you truly believe Andrew Colburn had been, slighted and his reputation ruined by two unethical filmmakers for a guilty guy because they just wanted to make a documentary, right? And
Yeah, a
make
money
some
making.
money off
Yeah,
of a poor victim.
that's right.
What would you have if, like, what is it that you said that you're ashamed of? Like, you don't
That
want people to know. Makes you
that's what it
wonder.
that's what it drives down to for me.
Yeah.
What was said and what was said about those out in the real world at the maybe at the time. I get it. Everybody has a temper and they get mad, and this guy, that stupid Jack, he's just mouthy. He just mouthy as hell. He just runs his mouth all the time and says this. I'll tell him one thing, but he won't believe me. And I get it. Way back, in the beginning, I used to get really mad, and I quickly found out that was the wrong thing to do, and I really tried to stop. And if I did get really upset, I just got out of it for a while and did something else, get calmed down, so I could actually reply sincerely without the anger. Because if you're replying in high emotion, um, you're probably going to say something stupid.
Yeah.
It happens to a lot of people. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is just a personal. This is a pet peeve of mine. It really irritates me. Talking about the federal judges. I'm going to get this off the screen now because that's enough of that.
It sums up this case, though. The truth
Well,
has been redacted.
well, yeah, it really kind of has. It really kind of has. What's Doc say? Scam had a clear agenda in mind from the get-go. Coburn was used as a tool, absolutely, to
Achieve.
I think that's achieve their goal. They never expected Ludwig to toss out the case. It crippled that. Oh, it absolutely did. I fully believe that Sean and Brenda and maybe everyone involved in Cam thought that Coburn was going to win against Netflix. I really do. And they banked on it, and that didn't happen at all. And to his credit, Judd Ludwig, for anyone that read the case files like we did, these documents, motions, he gave them huge latitude, huge openings to prove their case. He went above and beyond what most judges I think would do. I don't really follow too many civil cases, but oh my God, he gave them just tons of room, and every time it would just fail. I mean, it would just fail, and then all this other that we just talked about, it came along and completely. It's like, what? Why would you? You're talking about attorney-client stuff that should not be open to anyone but the attorney and the client. You can't do that.
This case has a little bit of everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, Jay, I think I can answer this here. You asked me about the can these be unredacted? I tried that with the new DCI files with Adobe. There is a feature to unredact. It's kind of buried. It's kind of a pain in the ass to mess with. And I tried it, and it didn't do anything. It didn't work. I can try it on these. I'll try that. If I think of it, I'll try that later tonight on these documents. I mean, we don't have too many. Like I said, there's only we've got a few pages here and there of the the multiple text messages that were sent back and forth. So it's a good point. Yeah, it's a horrible documentary to me. I can't even call it a documentary. I can't because they use so much hearsay. It's crazy. Yoga says it would be interesting to know if someone else financed the Coburn lawsuit besides Coburn. Well, I think he did have outside help. Not sure if Andy Hale. He's a pretty wealthy, wealthy Chicago lawyer. He defends police officers in the city and has for decades, I guess, a long time. He probably helped, and I know that at the end he had a pretty significant legal bill, to say the least. And there's a process to finalize that. I don't know what the outcome was. I really don't. I can't remember. I know we read through some of that, but I'm not sure how it all worked out. I mean, to me, I think Doc, we nailed it. We talked about this quite a bit during the time. They got Colburn or Reesbach and Brenda got Colburn to sign a exclusivity deal that he would not speak to any other media except to Cam. And that really, to me, that really kind of screwed him. I mean, it really did. He couldn't talk about his side, whether I agree with it or not. I don't really like seeing people censored that want to have a real debate, a real conversation. Kansas Boxley, any comment on the post to SA is innocent group made by Tramick Carter Kemp 19 hours ago regarding AI article regarding Brennan's confession? I don't know anything about that. I haven't seen anything, but I'm not on Facebook that much. I'm not even sure I'm in that group. Kansas. I don't know. You've got my contact. Send me a link or something. Let's see if I can see. I haven't seen anything at all. We do have a couple of questions I pinned. One from Nan's Live. You want to read this, Christina?
Yeah, it says, it's from Nan's Live. What are the chances Schimmel, if he gets to the Supreme Court, will recuse himself from hearing anything Avery or Dassey related? Or will he beg to be the one to hear Supreme Court appeals? What do you think? What do you guys think?
Oh, I think he should recuse himself, but will he? I'd be shocked if he did.
Yeah, me too. He enjoys the sadism of it all.
Well, I wish he would, follow what he should do and say, look, I was involved as AG. I can't be involved in this case at all, and step away if he wins. I hope he doesn't win. I think it would be a downturn for Wisconsin Supreme Court judiciary. I can completely understand why he would want it. Go out and retire, in a few years as a Supreme Court judge from Wisconsin, draw that salary for the rest of his life and the benefits that come with it. But the way he acted as in his term as AG, anyway. Got one more question. Read this out, Christina.
Yeah, this is from 3RAV4s. When was the flyover showing the golf cart beside a smoldering barrel in the gravel pit near the rock crusher? I don't know that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we saw that We saw that Seeking Truth for Good ran the flower video through Lightroom and imaged every frame. And you've seen those, right, Christina?
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, it shows a smoldering burn barrel and a golf cart pretty near it during the flyover. You know, it was in the gravel pit on the Redonce property, so I don't think anything came of it. You know, it's just something that we saw, and if they investigated it, it's unknown to me. I don't remember anybody. I don't remember any reports of anybody investigating it. Maybe there was, and I'm just not remembering. But it's definitely there.
Whose golf cart was it?
I would imagine it belonged to Redonce. I don't know that though. I simply don't know.
And when was it taken?
November 4th, 2000. Okay. During the flyover.
Yeah. So it was taken the day before the RAV was found.
Yep.
Refound.
Well,
however you want to say it.
It's interesting that you know, on the 5th by 1:30 p.m. Manitowoc or Calumet officers, I think it was Manitowoc, went on to the Redonce property. I don't know why they did. Teresa had no appointments there. I don't know why they would go there. I still don't understand it. I mean, you know, they caught the 5 friends of Teresa around 12:30 that day. Manitowoc did, and I guess they told them that, you know, Redonce said that they could search over there, but then they walked over to the Avery salvage yard. It's a really odd. You know, I can take that and I can make all kinds of speculatory statements about that whole situation, because to me it's really strange that Ryan and Scott knew that Teresa had an appointment at the salvage yard on the 31st, yet when they organized that search and they had all those people coming in that morning, they didn't assign anyone to this Avery salvage yard until Pam Stern comes in an hour late. Pam and Nicole, he says, "Oh, has anybody went to the Avery salvage yard?" That doesn't work for me. I don't know. I'm being truthful here. I don't understand that. Signing somebody. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Palm of God was that heat-seeking missile. She knew exactly where to go.
Oh, will it be? Yeah, of course. Yeah, the God showed me the way. Yeah, it was pretty cringe. Anyway, we've been at it almost 2 hours. Yeah, that's right. That the smoldering burn barrel one. That was from the helicopter. Was that the 5th that was shot? I take your word for it. Okay. Doc probably knows better than I do. I guess it was on the 5th. Because, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it was definitely in the Redonce gravel pit. Absolutely. We don't know the implications of that burning barrel though in the golf cart there. No, we don't have any idea. I'm sure that, you know, those guys got things in on pallets and various things, and you know, they just broke it down and burnt the wood to get rid of it. Otherwise, you're going to have a pile of pallets somewhere or sitting all over the damn place. I'm sure they don't want that either. So they would just, I'm sure, break them down, throw it in a burn barrel, and have a little fire. You can burn that up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I went on Google Earth the other day to look at Avery salvage yard as to what it's like now, and it's totally empty, really. There's nothing there.
Really?
Yeah.
They're getting rid of all the cars. I think the property sold. Getting rid of all the cars and all that.
But you know, is it Cuss Road to the left-hand side as you're looking at it? So you've got Avery's house in the top left-hand corner, say. That's now like a quarry. It's all been excavated. And considering that was a road or something, access that you could drive across into Cuss Road, that's gone.
Wow.
That doesn't surprise me that there's been, development. I mean, after you can look at Google Earth and pull up that area at Cuss Road, that
Yeah.
whole area where the disturbed earth was found, the trees are gone.
Gone,
Everything, it's gone. It's been removed. So somebody went in there with a chainsaw and had at it, cut all that shit down.
It's been 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's funny because everything's been excavated, and this all we've got is Avery salvage yard right in the middle of it. So
Yeah,
that's going to be bulldozed over the next few years.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what that property is, who purchases it, and what is put on there, because the wind turbines have always been like a side curiosity for me. The windmills, a few of us went down that rabbit hole in the beginning, just to see, like, because they stored them in the quarry. Those white pieces, metal objects, are the wind turbines that could never be installed because they didn't have Avery salvage. So it's going to be, I'm curious to see what happens.
Yeah, that is interesting. And we have quite a few of those here, not necessarily here in the more southern portion of Michigan, but in the mid, there's definitely, as you're driving through on various highways, these wind farms, these turbines that provide power, and there's a constant breeze kind of off Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see it. That'd be interesting there too.
Dave Bagaka, actually, he spoke about them because they ended up trying to place one in Texas where he had property. I know this from his YouTube videos. And there was a lot of people, a lot of his neighbors that were really upset about it, because people who live close to these wind turbines have like a lot of health issues from it.
Really?
Yeah. If you ever, I mean, it's been years since I watched those videos, but I think they ended up selling their Texas property because it was either him or his wife were negatively affected by them, to the point where it disrupted not only, like their quote peace and quiet in their home, but like migraines, balance issues, several different issues.
Well, you think about high electrical voltage and amperage running from whatever, even just from a regular power line. I think there's a reason those high energy lines are really not typically built near residential and where people are really living. And because I don't know how much, I'm not smart enough to say, I mean, these big power lines are protected. They have insulation. They're covered with all kinds of stuff to protect the cable, but how much leaks out or into the surrounding area? You know what I'm saying? I'm not smart enough to talk about that. I do believe, with that kind of energy, you get into probably some magnetism and us not fully understanding the impact on the human body that can have. I don't know,
Yeah.
And Nan's life says, Yes, here where I live, turbines are being taken down for those reasons. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know that I'd. I mean, I guess I appreciate a wind turbine being able to provide power, but not if it negatively affects people. I mean, that's kind of you're kind of just killing your project. You're killing the availability of sustainable renewable power that doesn't really cost anything except the cost of maintaining the turbine and the cables. Interesting. All right.
Mhm.
Anything else but you guys want to discuss before we jump ship here?
No, I'm good.
I'm all right.
Yeah. Well, for those interested, we have our Discord, and I will post a link to that right now for anybody that wants to join that hasn't already joined. Just 1 second here.
Thank you, everyone listening on and participating in the chat. We appreciate it. And
Yeah, and that
please
goes for
like
that
and
goes
subscribe.
that goes for both sides. You don't we don't demand that people agree with us. We don't. We just ask for civil, honest conversation.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all. And continuing to try to get documentation from the state. I still haven't gotten anything, and I've been harping about this for months on here. I still haven't gotten anything, nothing, and they haven't released anything else.
Yeah. They just want us to go away.
Well, it would be great, if we had some way to truly finalize instead of just leaving me and any other records requester in limbo and saying, well, we've got your request and thanks.
We're processing it.
Yeah, it's not a denial, so we're going to violate the reasonable amount of time part of the records request.
Yeah.
And just ignore you. It's just ridiculous to me, man.
It is.
So frustrating. It's extremely frustrating to me.
I reckon we should ask AI for all the telephone calls on the 4th of November, and maybe he'll repeat it back to us what they were.
I like that idea.
I'm not afraid of it. I guess in some way I kind of am, but I don't really use it's everywhere now. You got Copilot, you got Grok, you got GPT, you've got there's several of them out there. I don't really use it. I know a lot of people do, but I don't, because for me it's only half smart. It doesn't have that human element, and I don't know that can ever be infused into artificial intelligence enough to make it really functional. Yeah, it can write you a summary, it can do all kinds of things, but it's drawing on only what it can find.
Well, and it's only what it has access to a certain time frame too. I use DeepSeek more than ChatGPT, and unless you're specific and you give them a workaround, they only have access to the data from when their program was written and they were introduced. Like DeepSeek is in 2023. So if you're trying to search stuff, unless you say, check newspaper articles, current events or something like that, they're only accessing the data within their time frame. So
yeah, I think there's limitations. Depends on the programming. It all affects it. To answer 3RAV4s, when is the next Foul Play live stream? I'll try to do something. I'm not sure Doc. I think Doc is still dealing with things in real life. I'm not sure when the aftermath with Brendan Dassey will continue reading with the crew. he's got to take care of what he's got to take care of. Real life always comes first for everyone. That's the way it should be. So I'm not sure when Doc he always tries to attend the open mic in the chat, at least dealing with what he has to have to deal with. But I'll try to do something next weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, or maybe both days if the swing strikes me. Or if there's something somebody wants to talk about, send me a message, and we can talk about it. I don't mind just getting on here and talking about various things. It doesn't bother if that's what people want to do. I don't want to kill people or run people off just talking. That's never been a goal. But
you're not going to do that, Jax.
Well, I think it's important to continue to share the information. Keep it fluid in your mind, because
That's
it's just
right.
personally, I doubt that the Supreme Court will take the case, but again, they might.
I have hope.
I have hope too. I hope they do. I hope they'll look into it and say, look, you at minimum need to have a hearing, or you need to have this is new trial worthy, and it goes back to the circuit court for a new trial. It goes back for a new trial. It's a completely different ballgame. Everything that Zellner has brought to the table comes in. Every piece of evidence that the state has comes into play. It's all back on the table. And I'm also hopeful about, as much as I've been stonewalled, I'm still hopeful about records request.
Yeah.
So, alrighty, I'm going to get us out of here and have a burger and a Coke.
Awesome.
And
a smile.
Yeah, absolutely. After I eat that burger, because I'm quite hungry. Again, if anybody has anything they want to discuss, or multiple things they want to discuss, send me or Christina or one of us a DM on Discord, or I'm on Facebook. There's many that know me through there. Whatever, I'm glad to discuss it.
Yeah.
So with that said, I'm going to thank Christina and Jay for jumping in. Thanks for the help.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yep. Thanks for the help reading. I will link the document in the description after the video processes, so anybody that wants it can have it. It's out there. I grabbed it from a newspaper, one of the newspapers. That's how I found it. So with that said, I'm going to tell y'all, appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, wherever you may be located. And this has been a Foul Play production.